Hi everybody, it's me, I'm MattHawes of The Happy Show, and guess what? We're continuing with another segment of The Happy Story!
Welcome to
This is Happy Show again.
Welcome to The Happy Show.
Woohoo! Yeah! So me and my friend Robert, the co-host of The Happy Show in its earliest days, were going around town looking for components to put together a puppet for The Happy Show. I knew I wanted a puppet. I didn't know how really to put it together, and I didn't really know where to go to find the pieces I needed. We were looking around at the different hobby stores, but we were really coming up with nothing that satisfied me. When Robert was talking to his wife on the cell phone as we were driving around, which is dangerous, so you shouldn't talk on a cell phone while you're driving around. And he found out from talking to her that, or actually he remembered, they had a puppet. He said, yes, we have a puppet. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, me and my wife, we go to the thrift stores and such, and sometimes we find stuff to resell on eBay or what have you, and we came across this puppet. I was like, is it a good puppet? He's like, oh, yeah, it's a good puppet. And I was like, whoa, cool. And so I said, well, yeah, I'd love to see this thing. I said, you think it will work for the show? And basically, yeah, it will work for the show. So we go over to his house. He goes out to the garage where he had stored the puppet. He pulls it out, and I go, it's a freaking Muppet! It wasn't a Muppet, but it sure as heck looked closer to that than anything I was expecting. In fact, it came a lot closer to being really a cool puppet that I thought I would ever come across. I was like, oh my gosh, this is too good to be true. This is a really cool looking puppet. I thought I was going to have some cheap thing that I was going to have to throw together. But I was like, man, where did this thing come from? And we both didn't know, but I couldn't see any tags that said any official copyrights or whatever. And so I thought, well, you know, that'd be cool. Because see, one of the reasons I wanted to make my own puppet is I wanted something unique to The Happy Show. I didn't want something that everybody else had. Now, I'll be honest, a lot of the other puppets I use on The Happy Show, even though they become beloved characters, they are based, they are actually just cheap dollar store puppets, and I know that if I ever was to do anything more with The Happy Show, if I was ever to get so blessed to be offered by any actual TV station or whatever, TV or movie studio or something silly, insane that would never happen. But if I ever did have anybody come up to me and ask about that, I would know that I would probably have to redesign these things because they're I don't think there's a copyright issue that's extreme enough to worry about on public access or YouTube even. Believe it or not, I don't think this is a copyright I have to worry about with them. But having the puppet, I looked at him. I'm like, oh my gosh, though this one, we could tell he looked like he was probably what these church puppets put together. But just something about it, because it had no actual markings that would signify that it was from any kind of company that was mass produced on any level. So I thought, well, this might be a custom-made puppet to begin with. In fact, one telltale sign is the actual first Happy doll had wire-rimmed glasses. And they didn't have no lenses, though, but they were actual real wire frames. Oh, I said wire lens, wire frames. They were wire frames connected through his nose through like a piece of plastic, or whatever. But he... But I didn't like that, so I took those the glass frames off of them, but that part alone told me this was probably custom made for somebody. And I thought, wow, this is cool, but I asked my friend how much he would want for the puppet, and he was reluctant to sell it at first because he thought I guess he just thought I meant to use the puppet temporarily. And I was like, no, I want to continue to use it on The Happy Show as a regular feature. I want to have that puppet character in every episode of the show in some capacity. And so he was, again, hesitant because the thought was that they would put this thing on eBay and sell it and be done with it. And I thought, no, this thing's too cool to do that. And I went in on that show, darn it. And he said, well, you can borrow it. I was like, well, if I have to borrow it because of my plans for it, I might as well just go ahead and we carry on with trying to find the elements we need to make a puppet myself, totally construct one myself. Because I thought if I don't have it for the show without the risk of it being taken away at some point, then I don't really see the point in using it. So he's like, well, I'll tell you what, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and sell it to you. And I gave him a bit more than what he paid for, so he'd have some profit from it. And that was our agreement. It was like, okay, you can use the puppet, you can own the puppet, you can have the puppet. And so I paid him the money, and Happy was put into slavery. But that's how I obtained Happy the puppet. And I would find out a little bit later, listen to that traffic, I would find out a little bit later the origins of Happy and who his mother really is. And we will fill you in on that as the time comes. But that's something that happens a bit further down the way. So now I had a puppet that I wanted. So basically the show was me and Robert as the co-host. The oddball bits that go on during the half hour, we'd probably wrap it up at the end of some way. And I would have the puppets, not just Happy, but the dollar store puppets and other things, interspliced randomly throughout the show in their own segments. And the two more prominent characters in that show that were not actual human beings would be Wendy, the Happy Show dancer, and Happy the puppet. Wendy? Who's Wendy? Well, in the next video, I'm going to explain even more about how this show got developed in these earliest episodes of what would really be known as the official version of the Happy Show. And I'm going to continue that in the next video. Yay!